We are back, and we are joined once again by our friend. It's been a while, Benjamin Dixon, host of the Benjamin Dixon Show on YouTube. Ben, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's good to be back with the Majority Report.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Sorry, Sam's sick today. Otherwise, we would have it would have been the three of us. But we have plenty to talk about, just us. You put this out on social media, and I just think this is exactly the right call to action right now, urging federal workers not to resign,
Yes.
and not to take this like fake buyout deal that Musk and Doge. I mean, I hate even saying it every time. It's so stupid. That they've been offering to folks. Explain why you just think this is so important that federal workers don't take him up on this.
Right. It's so important because just think about the levers and the pulleys that are necessary for this empire, call it for what it is, for it to function, for it to work, just for this machine to operate and for federal workers to essentially take the buyout, because MAGA understands unless they buy out, unless they resign and take the severance package, they cannot forcibly remove all of those federal employees without a mountain of litigation. And so our biggest and our strongest defense against MAGA right now is for federal workers to not resign. Do not step down. Stay in your position. Document everything. Document their incompetence. We know that they're not qualified. MAGA is not qualified to do the job. They won't be able to get the mail delivered on time. They won't be able to, your tax refunds won't come on time. Let's be real. The real functioning and mechanisms of the federal agencies are in the hands of professionals, civil servants. And if they resign, then it's open season for MAGA's fascism.
And exactly, right? Like, I mean, it's a different situation than when, say, people in the State Department were resigning to protest the Biden administration's genocide in Gaza. And that was because it was clear that they could no longer do anything really internally, as they'd been working on those internal mechanisms and raising the alarm.
Yes.
But for this government, this Project 2025 far right attempt to dismantle our administrative state and really the functioning of our government, just having bodies in those positions is an act of resistance.
Absolutely. Emma, you couldn't have said it better. Having bodies in those positions, number one, prevents them from putting an incompetent MAGA Trump loyalist in that position. And really, I'm sharing this with your audience because we're the ones that we have to spread the word, right? We really need audience members to participate, to spread this word to every federal employee. Listen, they already know their jobs are important. We need to reaffirm that your federal job as a civil servant is critical. And if it is an empty seat, then that gives MAGA the opportunity to put someone incompetent in there, but then two, someone who will expedite and facilitate fascism even quicker.
And the report, we just went through this Wall Street Journal report about that Doge worker who's basically a 4chan Nazi poster, just digging through the Treasury system that has all of our social security numbers, our medical information, our home addresses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can think of the hypocrisy of the conservatives saying that they're against these unelected bureaucrats making decisions.
Right.
And then using a billionaire.
Obama's ours.
Right. Like the richest man on earth. Exactly. And his little Groyper buddies to just go within the first few weeks and attack our federal government. I mean, of course, the way that they talk about bureaucrats is so bad faith. It's just like a way to not look up at the billionaires, look at government employees as if that's the real problem. But this is what it really means to have unelected people with no accountability, basically trying to corrupt our government for their own ends.
Absolutely, Emma. Absolutely. And I think this is another opportunity. If there are people in our audiences, in our chats right now, who can file lawsuits of any type regarding this specific issue, because this is a class action lawsuit waiting to happen. Even if we don't have jurisdiction, even if it gets turned down, it is the process itself. We need everyone to complain at every level that they can complain. And if you have the capacity to actually file a lawsuit, if you represent any type of law firm, any type of litigation agency, organization, this is the perfect place to strike, because they should not have access to our critical information. Number one, unqualified. Number two, unselected by the American people. And number three, did they even get security clearances? And number four, did they take an oath to the Constitution, or are they there on behalf of Elon Musk?
Exactly. We're actually getting some IMs right now from federal workers. Coop writes in, federal worker here, all unions are in solidarity telling employees not to take the deal. The only possible scenario where it may make sense is for people who are going to retire this year anyway. Mortified Penguin says, love you, Ben. Really appreciate you looking out for all of us federal workers. I will add, federal workers should download all employment files called OPF and print or send them to a personal device. Hold the line. Don't resign. What's your reaction to that?
I love it. Hold the line. Don't resign. Hold the line. Don't resign. I need everyone, and Emma's forgive me for kind of like nudging. It's Majority Report's audience. I don't want to respect that, but every platform that I'm speaking to today, I'm speaking directly to the audience. We need you to go to social media with this message. Hold the line. Hashtag hold the line. Don't resign. Number two, if you know of a federal employee, maybe you went to high school with somebody and you just kind of heard that they work for the federal government, send this to them. Send this graphic to them. Send your own graphic. Make up your own meme. It doesn't matter. Get the word out. Hold the line. Don't resign.
Appreciate that message, and here on that front. One of the news stories that went under the radar, just to take a turn for a second, but it's also related about federal federal workers. Bradley, could you pull up this article from NBC? Saw this from 2 days ago. So apparently these federal health workers are being targeted right now by a conservative website. The headline is Federal Health Workers Terrified After DEI Website Publishes Lists of Targets. Let's just scroll down for a sec. Federal health workers are expressing fear and alarm after a website called DEI Watch List published the photos, names, and public information of a number of workers across health agencies, describing them at one point as targets. It's unclear when the website, which lists mostly Black employees who work in agencies primarily within the Department of Health and Human Services, first appeared. Offenses for the workers listed on the website include working on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, donating to Democrats, and using pronouns in their bios. The website, a government worker said, is being circulated among multiple private group chats of federal health workers across agencies, as well as through social media links. And if you could just scroll down a little bit to get to what the group is called. So you can see, no, that's right. Go down. Yeah, you can see they blurred out the faces, but this is an example. They changed it from targets to dossiers. They changed it because it was clearly an incitement.
Because they're trying to incite one of their Nazi followers to do something.
And the site, so on Tuesday evening, the site listed photos of employees and linked to further information about them under the headline targets. Later Tuesday night, the headline on each page had been changed to dossiers. And the article explains just a little bit further down that on the note at the bottom of the website says a project of the American Accountability Foundation. That group is a conservative watchdog group. It's not the first time the group has created such a list. In December, it sent Pete Hegseth, then the nominee for defense secretary, a list of names of people in the military whom it deemed too focused on DEI, the New York Post reported at the time. So a conservative group, the American Accountability Foundation, created a website to post the personal information of mostly Black health federal employees. Elon Musk had a little hissy fit.
That's right.
The other day, because saying that he would go after people, I guess either with criminal charges or with a lawsuit, either way, it doesn't matter, who posted the identities of his minions that are taking apart our treasury right now. But at the same time, conservatives are doing this for actual federal government employees and public servants.
Right. So we're in an asymmetrical war where they can get away with anything, with doxing, with actual violence. There was a shooting that took place in Maine, and the live video of the shooter indicated MAGA principles, MAGA beliefs, right? And so there's this asymmetrical war where they're able to go as far as actual violence against us, and we can't even retweet the names of these Doge henchmen who are getting it into all of our information. Matter of fact, on that same day that you're talking about, I had one of Donald Trump's new appointees as a federal attorney follow me as a means of intimidating me. And
Wow.
so our message has to be very clearly to them. One, we're not afraid. If you want to do this, let's do this now. And I really want to be careful with my words here, because it's not arrogance, it's not hubris. I believe that we must call their bluff now, whether they're serious or not. We have to call it now while we are still a nation of laws, while they still have to go through policies and procedures. They still have to work through the bureaucracy. They will have to explain why they are violating our First Amendment rights. So we need to shout as loudly as we can right now, make as much noise as we can right now, and let them know that we are not afraid right now, so that this doesn't go any further. And as far as these health workers, if there's any way that we can support them, if there's a way we can get social media support to them, because that is their new area of terrorism. They like to terrorize us by doing things on social media and sending their horde after us. And so we need to stand in the gap and make sure that we're protecting and encouraging the people who are out there for us.
And, you know, it's amazing to see them talk about lack of meritocracy via DEI, because when they use it, it's not like there's no nuanced critique there that people may engage in about like how best to do anti-racist work. They're using it as a substitute really for like the N-word.
Yes.
And when they talk about meritocracy, and then, you know, at the same time, let's put Pete Hegseth at the head of
Bingo.
the Department of Defense. He has no experience, has like extreme issues in his past and skeletons in his closet.
The spokeswoman is 27.
Right. Like, oh, by the way, speaking of spokespeople, Tucker Carlson's son, Buckley, hired as JD, like one of JD Vance's top press people.
What's his name got hired by Andreessen Horowitz to the
Daniel Penny.
Daniel
Yeah.
Penny, yes.
So this is the meritocracy that they describe. They believe truly, and like when you unpack it, that the natural hierarchy is white men.
Yes.
And that's when they say meritocracy, they mean, no, we are naturally superior. And so that's where the merit goes. Duh.
Right, exactly. That's the fundamental argument underneath. This is the subtext. When they say DEI, they are essentially saying that the only people on the face of the planet that are qualified to do anything, literally any job, is a conservative white man. If you're not a conservative white man, you're not qualified. And so we need to call their card every time they say DEI. The lie that they're saying underneath it is that no one is qualified to do anything but white men. Here's the opposite side of it. We know for a fact we can put some of these black women attorneys, some of these professionals that they're calling DEI hires. They are the people who are sustaining their organizations. They are the people that are doing the most efficient job. They're the ones that are giving 10 times as much as anyone else. And so if we ever had a comparison of apples to apples, their very best against our very best, I fear that the MAGA is going to come up pretty short.
Yeah, well, that's like wish fulfillment for me to see that. But go ahead, Matt. What do you want to say?
There's a statement by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau Union, which is like a National Treasury Employees Union, 335. CFPB Union NTEIU 335 spies dodgy Doge bros. And look, I'm usually not for like the broligarch. I think you just call them tech, but it's a union saying it, so I'll defer to them.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., February 7th. Go to the actual, or I'll just read it. See if you can find. On the evening of February 6th, 3 minions of professional Twitter poster and Jeffrey Epstein confidant Elon Musk appeared in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's internal staff directory. The 3 underlings are Chris Young, a lobbyist for Big Pharma and past field organizer for former Governor Bobby Jindal. I mean, oof. And Elon fanboys Nikhil Rajpal and Gavin Klinger. Rajpal led a libertarian students group at a public land-grant university at UC Berkeley and worked at auto lender Tesla and wannabe payment processor Twitter. Klinger interned at Twitter, claims he owns a Tesla, and graduated from UC Berkeley in 2020. When he's not stealing Americans' private information with Doge, Klinger enjoys writing lengthy essays defending rapists and retweeting white supremacists. Clyger's lawyer, Daddy, works at Experian, which is the same company CFPB sued in January for covering up errors on credit reports with sham investigations. While alleged coder Clyger, I don't know how to pronounce his name, made between 0 to 3 Git commits in the last year, workers at the CFPB returned $1.3 billion to scammed Americans in that time. I'm just going to continue. The unelected Musk recently announced plans for a new payments platform run jointly by Visa and X. Look at that populism, formerly Twitter. Now he's moved his power grab to the CFPB in a clear attempt to attack union workers and defang the only agency that checks the greed of payment providers as well as auto lenders like Tesla. CFPB union members welcome our newest colleagues and look forward to the smell of Axe body spray in our elevators. While acting director Besant allows Musk's operative to bypass cybersecurity policies and wreak havoc with their amateur code skills inside CFPB's once secure systems, CFPB union members fight to protect our jobs so we can continue protecting Americans from scammers with conflicts of interests like Musk.
That's
Wow.
it.
Well
Yes.
said.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing. I mean, there was also, I headlined it yesterday, that the federal workers union exploded in membership in the month of January. So
Huge.
the workers are, it seems, doing what you're saying, basically, Ben. They're standing
That's
up.
what we need, Emma, and we need worker solidarity more than ever before. And even if you are not a federal worker, chances are you know someone that is a part of this 2.2 million member tribe. They are the people that keep this thing, they keep the lights on. And they may not be the most efficient in the possible. I mean, sure, there's sometimes that our mail is late, right? But we're talking about an existential threat to the functioning of our government. MAGA is not up to the par. They won't have a public health system. They won't have public education. They are already violating the social contract. And this attitude, this from the CFPB union, that is the direct disposition. They need to just call out the foolishness, the incompetence, and the trash that MAGA is.
I guess to pivot a bit to foreign policy, Benjamin Netanyahu, war criminal, genocidal maniac, as Rashida Tlaib regularly refers to him, visited the White House and had a press conference with Donald Trump. And Trump said, just blurted out whatever he thinks, which is he tends to do. There was one thing that really caught my attention, and I don't think enough people are discussing it. Trump said that there were 1.7 to 1.8 million Palestinians in Gaza, which is down from the 2.3 million figure that had been cited previously. A lot of news outlets are continuing to run with the 40,000 dead number, which is so out of date and so misleading that it's frankly, by continuing to say it, I would say that you are complicit in shrouding
That's right.
this issue in and not being accurate, frankly, because we had a letter from 99 U.S. doctors and nurses back in October that said the number was at least 118,000. Lancet estimates at least 180,000 dead. And Trump, with the deficit that he describes,
That's right.
that could indicate 500,000.
Yes.
It could be less than that, but it could be up to that. And I think he's dumb enough to not know that that's classified and just blurt it out by accident. And I guess seeing Netanyahu smirking next to him, just like, what was your reaction? And how do you feel like we can move forward in advocating for Palestine in these next 4 years?
Wonderful question, Emma. And if I could take a beeline straight to the, I think one of the core matters here. I think it's important for Christians in the United States of America to realize that Israel, the state of Israel, founded, circa 1947, 1948, it is not the biblical Israel. We have no spiritual, I'm saying this as a Christian, and I know there's a lot of non-believers here, but I just need to talk to my Christian folks for a second. We have no spiritual requirement to support the state of Israel underneath the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu and the far right-wing Likud party, who are guilty of genocide. I lost track, and I didn't lose track. They stopped counting at 15,000 children. Emma, that's back when the numbers were down there by 40,000 total. 15,000 of that 40,000 were children. And now, yes, Donald Trump is most certainly dumb enough, but thank goodness, to kind of admit that there's a shortfall of 500,000 Palestinians, Gazans, who are either missing or dead as a result of our tax dollars, but most of all, the result of Benjamin Netanyahu. And one of the number one ways they get people in America to continue to support this genocidal regime of Benjamin Netanyahu is through Christians, Black Christians and white Christians, all believing that those people who are over there are somehow represented in the Bible. They absolutely are not by DNA, not by political lineage, and certainly not by their commitment and their covenant with God. They are evil. What they are doing is evil. You have a Christian mandate to oppose Benjamin Netanyahu. And so I think if we break that core, that stronghold right there, then we can break the pull that AIPAC has on the United States of America, but certainly that devil that is Benjamin Netanyahu.
And you saw, I'm sure, the pager that he gifted to Donald Trump. I didn't fully sit with this because it kind of came out when we were on air yesterday, but the golden plated pager that he gave to him, which again killed children, those pager attacks, it was mounted on an olive tree, I think, right? Wasn't it not? Was it not? It was some kind of
cedar from Syria, I thought. I'm not sure.
Either a significant tree. Sure. I think it was a significant tree for the Lebanese people. The colonial mindset of it and the nakedness is the pride he takes in it is just something that I feel like I was probably a little bit naive about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm, someone that, of course, just like being white in America, you just like, I don't necessarily, you can afford to be a little bit more naive, I guess.
Yeah.
But it just, that level of depravity was something that just, it's a new low.
Emma, I don't want you to feel, no, you're not by yourself in that, I think the story is that we should recognize evil as soon as it shows its ugly face, even in the smallest form, right? The occupation for all of these years should have let us know that they will be willing to take it to the next level, which is the full genocide and the full ethnic cleansing. And now Donald Trump talking about sending our troops. I am, and I say this really, really carefully, I'm grateful that there are a handful of MAGA who reject this. And so for all the handful of MAGA that reject this, I don't know that you reject it for the right reason, but I'm going to table that for right now. We need to all oppose the idea of American troops being on the ground. We need to oppose the idea of American taxes going there any longer. If you're going to stop foreign aid over to Benjamin Netanyahu and his genocide of the Gazan people.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, let's just talk a little bit about resisting Trump. I think that even some liberals, right, who may not are maybe MSNBC watchers or folks who don't engage in a more activist approach to politics, I think they're actually kind of starting to get really pissed off at the insane just ineptitude and lack of urgency shown by many Democrats. And we're starting to see a little bit of a shift. Can you pull up this quote from Brian Schatz? So Schatz, he was unsuccessful because they don't have the numbers. Like, these are the practical realities. But at the very least, he did an old school overnight filibuster to protest the nomination of Russell Vought to OMB, the Project 2025 architect. And he adds some great quotes here, which is like, it's finally, I feel like this, Chris Murphy's acting like he gets it. Schatz gets it more. This is what he had to say to Isaac Chater, who's just what'd you say? Chotner. This may be the one time Chotner's interviewed somebody and the person has come out looking better on the other side. Like, he's done some incredible interviews with Israeli settlers and other things. But here's his quote about like the Democrats. He's talking about can you go up a little? Yeah. When he's talking just basically about how just scroll down. The Democrats should not listen to like the pundit class. He starts to name names. He says, what are you talking about with some pundit? Who are you referring to? Oh, David Axelrod, James Carville. I mean, those guys have not been in the trenches legislatively or electorally in a full generation. And there's a cottage industry out there of Democratic strategists. But in order to be a Democratic strategist, you actually have to do politics currently and not just podcasts about it. And then Isaac says you're referring to them criticizing what you've done around USAID by saying foreign aid is not good territory for Democrats to fight in. No, where's the second quote that I sent? Sorry. The part about the Foreign Assistance Act, the pundit brain. Yeah. Okay, so this is really the money quote that I was referring to. The Foreign Assistance Act, and then, of course, every appropriation bill that funds the State Department and Foreign Ops budget, they're ignoring multiple federal laws. And I'm just, excuse me for being quaint about this, but I'm not going to just gloss over that and wait until they touch the Affordable Care Act. That's the kind of pundit brain, poll-tested bullshit that got us into this mess.
Right.
We are constantly being told that something isn't polling well enough. And one of the things that Republicans do well is not allow their pollsters to tell them everything. They invent whole stories and then polling follows. And that's why we're focused so much on Russell Vought, Trump's OMB director. He's clearly not a household name, blah, blah, blah. But that part where Republicans don't lead with polling, they act to change the national conversation.
Right.
Immigration, they've completely changed the scope of it. Within like the past 10 years,
Yes.
like the Democrats have agency over public opinion and when things become popular by using the bully pulpit to advocate for things. And I guess I'm just curious, Ben, if you could respond to Iglesias, and even the Biden administration adopted this for a while, this notion of popularism, which they conflate with populism, but that we should just do things that are popular. Okay.
Yeah.
Except Israel.
But by definition, right, except Israel. But by definition, that means minority rights are on the chopping block, because if you only do what's popular, you can't stand up for minority, that's in the definition, rights.
Right. Especially when you have an quote unquote opposition. And I use that almost rhetorically, right? They're more like controlled opposition. When you have controlled opposition that is not willing to put in the dollars into media or into the right type of consultants that can actually get this done and know how to do this, then you have an existential problem in democracy, because we have Democratic consultants. The entire Democratic consultant class are super rich consultants with email databases and bad practices. Period. That's who they are. That's what they are. They still get paid no matter what. Kamala lost, but somebody got a yacht out of how much money they took from the collective body politic of Democrats. What does that mean? That means that we need to oppose a Democratic consulting class as it is right now. We need to oppose them as much as we oppose MAGA, because they're in the way of politicians actually doing something smart and intelligent for a change. And
the media is frankly reacting in many ways to this as well. Like, that's why I prefer what Schatz is doing to what Chris Murphy is doing, where he's conceded completely on immigration. Trump's not being, he's lying about his tough on the border stuff. Or could we make a positive case for, we are a nation of immigrants. It makes our country better. They're trying to get you to blame immigrants, and we're saying it's the billionaire class. Then you can change public opinion on this issue, instead of just throwing your hands up and saying, well, Trump's going to make things bad enough so that public opinion turns our way again. That's not how you need to, that's not doing politics.
That is asking for us, that is leading us to the slaughter, right? This is so important right now. We can't even really waste time with the Democratic Party or the Democratic consultants. Let them figure it out as they go. I think the people really need to take matters into their own hands in terms of what is public opinion. What are we talking about? What is the national discourse? We have the ability to change that from the bottom up. We've seen it. Each of us have done it in independent media with viral videos throughout the years. Each of us have that kind of impact, because if we wait for these Democrats and these Democratic consultants to figure out how to fight MAGA, we'll all be lined up on the wall asking if this is your first time here.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a really important point. There's a quote from Jane McAlevey I've read out a couple times here from a issue of Catalyst in 2018. Here's just part of it. In the U.S., the small margin strategy on the part of Democrats is what put Trump into office. This is, again, 2018. Idiotic and calamitous assumptions that Democrats only need to turn out 1 or 2% more to take this state or that congressional seat are spewed by Silicon Valley data wizards whose allegiance allegiance is to the new elite, not the working class. Small margins, gerrymandering, and all forms of voter suppression can best be defeated by learning how to build supermajorities in difficult conditions. And I also want to point to something going on in the New York Times, which is a guest essay. I think I got timed out from my New York Times thing, but it's a full column by, this is how Democrats can counter Elon Musk. And there's a section of it, yeah, here it is. Democrats must take care at this moment not to confuse tactics with goals. They shouldn't define themselves simply as Mr. Musk's operational opposite, leaving themselves defenders of a broken status quo. Their goal must be a muscular, lean, effective administrative state that works for Americans. This woman was married to a guy named Tim O'Reilly, who is basically responsible for turning the internet into a commercial free-for-all as opposed to a free software, more utopian thing. There's a great essay in the BAFTA called The Meme Hustler for tech folks who want to see how this is. So this is somebody coming from supposedly an Obama perspective, but really she's one of these tech people who agrees, like Jeff Bezos, this is not just a Musk problem. This is a capitalist problem, and that means it's a bipartisan problem. And these people will, if they have their way, will tell all of us that we're overreacting. That actually we do need to go along with a lot of cost savings for ideological reasons, and they are wrong.
They are wrong.
Entirely, completely.
Yeah. Ben, I guess lastly, I mean, what do you see your role is in opposing Trump here as a member of the press? Because that's Morning Joe and all of them bending the knee. I wonder if they regret that now, because they really underestimate. Trump barely won the popular vote, and they acted like this was Reagan's, sweep the second time around. I mean, they just rolled over completely. And it was the party, but also members of the media and online media is not exempt from this. Yeah. I'm trying to find a way to bring more creators and folks together to give people a place to at least have catharsis and at best have a path forward to organize, as you talk about. But if you could just expand on this environment that we're in right now. I mean, I know you and I have both kind of had private conversations about this, but. Yeah,
no, I'm just thinking, my genuine answer from the bottom of my heart is that if I had as many YouTube subscribers as TYT, if I had 6 million TYT subscribers, if I had the hundreds of thousands of members that organizations like that have, if I had the pull and reach of MSNBC, I would be mobilizing the masses. Every single listener, every single subscriber, every single commenter, every person in the chat room, you are important right now. And if we had 6,000 people, if we just had 6,000 people go with a singular message on social media, that would move the dial. If we went with 600,000, that would certainly change the national discourse. But if we went with 6 million people that we have groomed and used over the last 20 years in order to become the biggest media platform in progressive circles, it is a bona fide movement that could stand in the face of MAGA right now, but we don't have that. And so we're going to need every single show, Majority Report, all the way down to my little show. We need all of our supporters to get out there and do it ourselves, change the discourse, no MAGA buyout, hold the line, do not resign, tell every federal employee share it on every one of your social media platforms, text it to every single one of your text groups. Don't stop talking about it over this weekend in particular, because we are all that we have. We have to save ourselves, Emma.
Yeah, it really is a shame. We got to do what we can with our platform, but we're just so outnumbered on the right in terms of finances and resources. And I think a lot of us in this particular kind of independent media space, we're scrambling to come together because we have a fraction of their resources and of honestly their ability to pump Daily Wire to the top of the algorithm or whatever. It's just not possible. So in terms of TYT, it's a shame. I
don't mean to interrupt you, but Majority Report, you all are critical. One of the most impactful and influential. And even though, you all and none of us really have those numbers, what we have counts. And so thank you and Sam and the whole team there, Matt, all of you guys for standing on the wall like this.
Appreciate you, Ben. Everybody check out the Benjamin Dixon Show. over on YouTube. We'll put a link to that below. Good to talk to you.
Pleasure's mine. Take care.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.